so we are live on both pages, should be. And then on the bottom here, you'll see, can you all see that on the bottom where it says StreamYard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those are ideally when people comment, we'll see their comments there. But Liz is also going to keep track of that.
I am not seeing anything pop up on JASMYN's Facebook page.
Let me see. Let me check. Hold on. Let's see.
Let's go to the closet.
It might take.
I see it on JASMYN's page now.
Oh,
I'm going to share it.
oh.
Okay, yeah, and if you all see it, you feel free to share it.
You're seeing us running live already?
Yeah.
Where?
See it on the JASMYN page.
Oh, I see it. I see it too on JASMYN's page too.
Yeah, I see it as well.
Okay, why am I not seeing
it? Let's see. I'm sure you refresh. Maybe close out and then go back in.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've got people watching. Cool. You still don't see it, Liz?
I do not. That is crazy. Where are you seeing it on your phone?
It's on.
Yeah, see, it's on. See, this is how it looks on
That is so crazy. And the 8th. Start event.
Do you want to see if you can see it on the closet page?
I did, and I didn't see it there.
That's weird.
It is weird, especially since all of you can see it.
All right, so we will, let's see here. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started then. All right. All right, there we go. So we'll go ahead and get started, Liz.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Liz Nolan, and I work at JASMYN. I do work with volunteers, I do work with the community, and I help do a little bit of fundraising. It is my distinct honor to be with all of you today because we are really excited to forge this amazing partnership with Love Reigns and with The Closet and with all of you. It came to be, as I understand it, as part of the whole racial justice movement. I had explained to my director, Loretta Prescott, who's the director of development, that I'd become aware of a movement on Instagram called Share the Mic. And so we began to talk about a social media takeover for JASMYN. And the name that came to the top of the list was Terrence, as Love Reigns. So we're so excited. And the idea is that we could have this amazing conversation that would meld together the artist experience in Jacksonville. We are still very much in the South, and we know that things tend to run a bit behind the rest of the country here. So I had once heard the saying that art can save the world. And if you think about, as people were locked down because of the pandemic, where they turned to the art. They turned to people that they knew. They through movements like Share the Mic, they decolonized their social media feeds. They learned about what books to read, how to do the great unlearning. And so much of that came through arts and culture. So we just jumped on the opportunity to partner with Love Reigns and The Closet to bring this amazing opportunity, this discussion to Jacksonville. So we're really hoping that lots of people tune in over this 3-day series. And I'm really excited to get to know all of you and hear what you have to say.
All right. Thank you so much, Liz. And I'll just introduce myself. My name is Taryn Love Rains Warwood. I'm a poet, entrepreneur, author, jack of all trades. We'll say that. Middle of all trades. And my desire for this experience and this event is to, like I was explaining to Loretta and Liz, I really feel like we are at a point where we know without a shadow of a doubt that things cannot stay the same. We know that we are at a crossroads as an entire world, specifically here in this country. We are at a crossroads, and we have a choice. Either we change the things that are the way that they are now, or we don't, and we continue down the path that we have been going on. We are well aware of the racism. We are well aware of the fights. We are well aware of everything that is happening. So we must understand that we have to get to a point where we're done talking. You know what I mean? We can no longer talk. We have to start making movement, and we have to start taking action. And this conversation is very much so one of those things that I'm honored to be a part of, to be a part of the conversation. So tonight we have some very lovely panelists who are going to give us their insight and their experiences here in Jacksonville, and just as a whole in terms of being a part of our amazing community of LGBTQ plus folk, because we are some beautiful people, right? Beautiful people. So starting us off, we have Kay, we have Giella, and we have Xavier. So Kay, tell us who you are, please.
Yes, everyone. So my name's Kalila, but feel free to call me Kay. I am part of the LGBTQ plus community. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And been a kind of a little bit of a native from Jacksonville, spent my teenage and my early adulthood here. And for me, I'm a life coach, life and spiritual coach, and I help the queer community basically overcome limiting beliefs so that we can create the reality we want to experience. So I'm going to be in much support of this conversation today from a life coaching perspective, and honored to be here. So thank you, everyone.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much, Giella.
Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Giella, also known as Graciela. I also work at JASMYN as a program coordinator. I am a DJ, I'm a singer, I'm a rapper, I'm an activist. A lot of folks know me as a curator of Duval Folks, the only BIPOC LGBTQA dance party in Northeast Florida, period. And yeah, I grew up in Jacksonville all my life. I'm a Black Latinx person. My pronouns are they and them. And I just want to say that my views are my own and they do not reflect my organization.
Hi, y'all. My name is Xavier. I have been in Jacksonville for a year and some change now. My main vice of art has been spoken word / slam poetry. And my pronouns are he, him, and I think that's me.
All right, cool. So as we get into this conversation, I am, to move the conversation along and to ensure that this is a safe space for all of us. I'm going to ask for viewers and for all of us that we remember to be respectful of each other and our views, in terms of comments, in terms of the dialogue. The reality is none of us are experts in life. Mm-hmm. None of us. None of us know what's going on. None of us know exactly what happens or what is going to happen in this life. But we have to be open to new experiences. We have to be open to conversation, and we have to be open to understanding and just respect, you know. So I'm going to ask that all of, anyone who's watching, sharing, and all that good stuff, please just be respectful and mindful of that. We have to understand that we have to be open to these kinds of things, because if we do not change, we literally will cease to exist. That is my belief. And I think that it's clear to see that that is something that can happen. So this is just one conversation to kind of help to spearhead some kind of change here in Jacksonville, because we need it. Okay. So my first question to my amazing panelists, and also for anyone who's in the audience, please feel free to drop your comments, and we will make sure that we get to them. So my first question is, I'm curious to know from each of you, how have you experienced any kind of discrimination here in Jacksonville specifically, in terms of your art and being an open and out artist or performer? Yella, you want to start?
Yeah. So I've experienced quite a bit, I would say, with more so within like my queer community than just like Jacksonville as a whole. I've been out for about 6 years as, a Black, like lesbian singer, rapper, DJ. And I would say just within the first like 2 years is when I started getting invited more so to stuff. You would invite me to things, Love Reigns, I will shout you out. But the only people that would actually invite me to come perform and do things more so were my like BIPOC family, more so my Black lesbians that like knew who I was. I never formally got invited to go to Pride or to perform or anything. It was more so just like my friends inviting me to be on stage. And I think the biggest form of discrimination that I got was when I spoke out, at Pride about how we're celebrating 50 years of Stonewall, and we still hadn't said Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera's name. And those two Black and brown women were the reason why we are even at Pride. They're Black women, they're trans women, they're sex workers. And I got lots of backlash for telling Black and brown people to come to the front of the stage, for a whole year later to have civil uprisings, and for those same organizations that called me out to be screaming Black Lives Matter, And so it kind of shows how, when things are trending, when things are like cool, and when it's like time to show out, then it's time for folks to show up. And it was just very disheartening, and I also will shout out to my cousin, BB Deluxe, who's another amazing drag queen, who stood beside me and was like, hey, I said the same things that Giella said, but no one is calling me out. No one is dragging me through the dirt. But because my Black and brown friend, stood up and said something, y'all are dragging them through the dirt and telling them that they will never make it in this town. They will never do this. They will never do that for me to get a placement on South by Southwest. But that's just me tagging me. But it just, for me, I've always been unapologetically Black. I've been unapologetically brown, and stood up for my community because, like we said in these statements, we live in the South. Jacksonville was known as one of the most racist cities in all of Florida. And those people are not gone. They just had kids, and it's still like showing, throughout our city. Because for organizations to just now say Black Lives Matter in 2020, and Black Lives Matter has been around since 2013, is the T. And that's all that needs to be said on that.
Yeah, gotcha. Thank you for that. Xavier?
So ever since I was a kid, I never realized why like my existence creates a disturbance in whatever space that I acquire. Mm-hmm. And it's always been like a self thing, like it's you. But then as I grew up and I started to realize how the world works and all the institutions that the world still follows, I've realized that my existence is an act of resistance based off solely the state of society today. And that was something that I had to accept. The fact that I can walk into a room and not even say anything and be seen as a threat is something that is so common. Recently, in the past few weeks, I accepted a position to teach English to inner city Black youth at this private institution here in Jacksonville. And I was really excited to take the position. And I actually received like a donation from an artist of these posters that read pretty much the poster that I really got in trouble for was Black Queer Lives Matter. And that was up in my room for a week. And the next week, in the middle of the week, I had a meeting with the principal, and she pretty much told me that my room was unacceptable because I was promoting sexuality in the classroom. And after 45 minutes of homophobic banter, including me and her students that go to that school, I pretty much had to resign. And it made me reflect on like who I am, and the fact that I, along with other queer Indigenous people, have to fight every day just to exist and simply be. So, I mean, yes, Jacksonville is in the South, but this is something that it doesn't matter if you're in the South, East, or West. Like when you're queer and Black, like your existence is already resistance. So you're going to experience backlash no matter where you are.
Yeah.
So,
thank you for that. Kay, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I'll add a little, just a little bit, just kind of piggybacking off of what Xavier said, just kind of us being who we are, and sometimes we're facing that discrimination. I think for me personally, I have not, and especially in the art form, externally received discrimination, but I know internally that's a piece that we sometimes don't talk about as well. So like sometimes the internalized homophobia can really prohibit our queer community from expressing your form of art. My form of art is through storytelling and helping people and in healing. But sometimes that internalized homophobia, internalized, struggle that you may be feeling can serve as a barrier for some people that are trying to be expressive in their art. And that's coming mostly from conditioning. So I know, spending my teenage years and some of my early adult years, facing some of that conditioning of I can't be who I could, I can't be who I am in school, or I can't express myself, kind of sometimes delay that when you're wanting to express your art or finding what that art is for you. So that's the part that, I would just say that it's very concerning. And I think we're doing, progressively getting better at it by having, open conversations like this. To help people dismantle those barriers so that people can feel free in who they are in their art and be expressive in that way.
Yeah. I don't know. Liz, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I love that. I mean, I think that's something that we deal with at JASMYN all day, every day, is dealing with the barriers to someone's ability to express themselves in whatever form that takes. And so I think the more facets of the community that are working on this, the greater chance that we have to, the word that comes to my head is prevail, because Taryn, when you said earlier that if we don't get some traction in this, our communities of color might cease to exist. I mean, Jella has heard me say at work that I feel passionate about getting people out to vote, because for me, this election is life or death. And so when Kalila's talking about needing to break down those barriers, or Xavier's talking about changing the temperature of the room by virtue of walking in, we know that there's still so much work to do.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and it's, just to kind of piggyback off what you said in terms of the community of people of color, the reality is, one thing that if you've been in Jacksonville, especially as a creative or as an artist for over 10 years or even less than that, you see that there's a lot of people who come here, creatives especially, who come here, they kind of, get their footing and then they leave. Mm-hmm. The main reason for that is because of the lack of support, because of the lack of resources, because of the lack of opportunities, mm-hmm. And that in terms of my experience, and I'll get into why I started the closet. When I first started the closet, so I've been doing poetry and performing and hosting shows here for over 10 years. And I've always had that tug to leave. Mm-hmm. People always ask me, why are you still in Jacksonville? Why are you here? Why are you still there? If you go anywhere else, you literally could succeed. You know what I mean? And it's not to say that I can't succeed in Jacksonville. It's just that Jacksonville makes it extremely hard, right. To want to stay. But there's a part of me that says, no, I can't leave. The community is here. Mm-hmm. I was doing some research, and Jacksonville has one of the largest LGBT populations, and especially when it comes to people of color. That blew my mind.
Yes.
My first question was, where are they? Where are you? Where are we? I know we're here, but when I first started the closet, because of the relationships and the events and the curating and things that I've done in the past, which wasn't centered. It was never centered on LGBTQ plus artists or centered on the LGBTQ plus community, mm-hmm. Because I never wanted to, and this is just my own personal thing, I didn't want to go down that path of accepting the label, because I felt like me being a lesbian does not make me. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with it's a part of me. So I don't want to, and I'm just being completely honest, I refused to specifically in the beginning do LGBT specific events, because I wanted to make it inclusive. I wanted to make everything that I did a safe space for everybody. That was the goal. So I never wanted to just name anything or specifically focus on that. But anyway, I think that I've been blessed to be able to create those kinds of experiences without having to without calling it a LGBT space or LGBTQ specific event. The reason that I turned and started to do something with the closet and starting the closet was because I realized that we do need our spaces. We need spaces where we can be okay with going to a performance with our significant other. Mm-hmm. We need to be able to feel safe. We need to be able to have those places. And it's not to segregate us from the world, but it's just to give us an opportunity to say that we are okay. And there's other people who are out there who are just like us. And we all can be together. We can party. We can have a good time without having to worry about, a guy hitting on us or hitting on our partner or all of those things that are very real things that happen in our community. So with the Closet Jax, it was an eye-opening experience for me. The unfortunate part for me is that I can count on one hand how many times I've experienced racism direct.
Wow.
However, my experience in terms of discrimination from my own community, that being the Black community, probably spans my entire life. So that was another reason why I wanted to start the closet. So when I started to look for venues for the closet, I literally had one particular venue say to me, I can't risk my brand by hosting an LGBT event here. The thing that struck me was I went to that venue. I've done shows at that venue several times. Anytime, I asked for anything to be able to do an event. Yeah, sure, you can do it. But the minute I said it's going to be an LGBT specific event, I can't risk my brand. I also got just dead silence. Someone, a venue owner said to me that, well, why would you do that? It's like career suicide, and I was stuck, Giella. Like I couldn't believe that. I knew that it was weird. You know what I mean? Because I had never experienced it that way.
You just went to the wrong venues.
But it just boggled my mind. You know what I mean? That was the thought process, and that was what I was told. So it was just it was a struggle. It's been a struggle. It's already hard to find venues in Jacksonville as it is.
Yeah.
So to have spaces that actually accept LGBT performers and artists, it's been very, very rare. It really has. So my question, my follow-up question to that is, I'll say this. I'm when I was talking to Liz the first time, I said, I'm really tired of talking. I'm at a point where I'm tired of talking. And I need to know, like, we need to do something. Okay. So my follow-up question, just going right into it, what do you believe? What is it that Jacksonville, from your viewpoint and from your experience, what is it that Jacksonville needs to do? Like, what needs to happen right now for us?
Well, I'll say for all the BIPOC, or more so like our POCs, not like our Black folks that are in the city, our POCs and our white allies basically need to stand up and speak out. When you see discrimination happening, like, you need to say something. We have a budget that's coming up for the city of Jacksonville where $481 million are going to be allocated towards police, and maybe speaking up to where those allocations need to go. Jacksonville Community Action Committee has made an entire outline of the people's budget that allocates funds to mental health, to social services, to infrastructures in this city. And I think that's just where we need to start. Black people are tired. We constantly see other Black people getting murdered. We see a lot of things that are going on. And right now it's our moment to heal. And I think it's more so POCs and white allies standing up, going to vote, helping out other Black folks. We're tired, we're working, we're doing a lot. I saw even was reading an article recently that Florida, about 13% of people work in nonprofits in the state of Florida. 13% of people work in nonprofits. Why isn't money being allocated towards nonprofits? Why isn't money being allocated to all these other things? It's proven, abolitionists show that the way that communities, grow, the way that communities build is by pouring into them. We need to pour into them. We don't need to pour into police and into firefighters. They get money every single year. They got $300 million last year. So it's time to allocate those funds to other places within our city. So then we can have places where we can go hang out with each other. We can feel safe. We can, if our community is taken care of, if we're nourished, if we have food in our communities, if we have places to go in our communities, then we can feel safer in our communities. Then we can go out, Black people don't feel safe going out in Jacksonville, and that's just a fact. As a non-binary person, as a Black trans person, as a Black man, we don't feel safe in our communities. So why would we go out, Yeah. So I think the way that change is going to happen is by our POCs that are non-Black and our white allies stepping up and, showing out, voting, showing up to city hall meetings and saying that you want money allocated back into the community, not to police. So that's just what I think.
I agree with G. I agree wholeheartedly with G. I think we're tired of saying the same thing over and over and over to the same communities, and people are constantly asking us for solutions, or like asking us, or pretty much telling us that things aren't the same, and we experience the same experiences over and over that our ancestors did. Just because they're not as gruesome as they are back then doesn't mean that it's not the same thing. And I think people, especially, I mean, I'm tired of doing poetry and people telling me, oh, like, I really liked your message, but you know what I'm saying? There's always a but behind it, especially when it comes to queer people. And they don't realize that queer people are such an essential part of society and everything, but are always the ones that are mainly outcasted and silenced. So if people really want to change, how about y'all actually start listening?
Yeah. Abolitionists have already outlined everything. They have talked about how to reconstruct from slavery to now. There's already books, there's already dissertations, it's already there. So we're trying to ask, like, how can we change? How about y'all go read? Like, it's already done.
Right. It's crazy because, like, what I tell people is, like, how do you not know what's going on? They gave it to us in the textbooks and try to lie about it. Like, even in the lying, we know what's tea. So I'm just like, if you're not woke right now after we've been explaining it to you for like centuries, baby, you need to go do your research because Google's free.
Right.
Exactly. Google's free. I like that. Veronica said we need leaders, private, public, of all types, that have the courage and ability to lay down action in the face of risk for the sake of making a difference. Agreed.
That's it.
Agreed. You know, and it definitely has to start. My belief has always been is that, you know, we need to start over.
That's it.
We are doing amendments to I tripped my mom out when I was telling her I was doing some research. In 2018, I believe it was in Brevard, they elected a mayor. Their mayor was elected by a card game. Jesus Christ. This is 2018 or 2017. A card game. So what was written in their constitution was that if there was ever a tie for the mayor's race, that it would be decided by a card game. Someone went to CVS or Walgreens, got a pack of cards, and that's how they chose their mayor.
No.
The same could be said about our elector colleagues and how we vote. So
it is the whole system, right? The entire system literally needs to be blown up, and we need to start over because amendments they were just amending the foolishness. That's all it was. You know, the reality is that it was a system that was created that was not created for us. It was not. It was not created with us. Period.
For any of us, including Liz as well. It's only created for white men.
Exactly. We keep continuing to do these amendments when the system was never even created for us.
Yep.
We're always going to be considered lesser than, because that's how the system was created. You know, Kay, I'm interested to know your viewpoint, and I'm sure when it comes to being a life coach and speaking to folks. What's your take on from a mental health perspective on the fact that Black folks we tired.
We tired, boss.
We tired, boss. What else do you want me to do? I don't know. What else are we supposed to do?
No, this and it's a good point. I do want to add a little bit to the last question there, as far as in what can we do to have like progressive change. And I think it's kind of like a holistic approach. I think definitely one, having real transparent conversations like this, partnering with JASMYN and partnering with other different organizations to say, hey, we're going to be vocal about this. We're going to be transparent about this. We need to get this to the forefront. We need to hold hands, and we need to, step into a place of courage and say, hey, this is the reality. This is what's going on. Statistically, this is what's going on in Jacksonville. We need to be able to reallocate dollars and put into programs. So they definitely, one, having conversations like this, but then also two, being able to get to more of a granular level within the communities. So we brought this transparency, especially we face in the Black community, is kind of like a taboo to be LGBTQ, right? We're getting progressively forward from a macro standpoint, but we still have some issues in the Black community, you know, accepting our, you know, children, accepting our, you know, aunts, uncles, non-binary people in our community. So we need to be able to kind of educate a little bit more, or a lot more within that community, be vocal, and then still have that, you know, that ancestry courage to step out and say, okay, this is who I'm going to be.
Yeah.
Because what takes place is that when we're able to educate a lot more in that space in the Black community, guess what? We now empower and equip Black individuals to step into their diversity, which they hold some of this power when we get into organizations. Because as we see, when we go up the chain, guess what? That diversity slide comes down, right? So if you can have individuals that represent this community, whether they, you know, are allies or allies that say, hey, I'm willing to take the torch and really be in that boardroom and be your eyes and be your voice where you may not be able to be, and say, hey, we need equality. We need to be able to, you know, take a time to understand terms, understand a person, and really get that information to the stakeholder. That's going to make all the difference, right? So we see that now, where a lot of organizations and a lot of CEOs are doing that with Black Lives Matter, but it doesn't stop from there. Trans lives matter, you know, LGBTQ matter. How can we get our stakeholders to really, you know, see the authenticity of the community and say, okay, hey, we need to make a change. So I think it's just more of a holistic approach. I think definitely I want to give kudos to that in comparison to 10 years ago. I know I've been kind of, you know, traveling back and forth to Jacksonville. It has been some progress, and in our world has been some progress, but we need to still have conversations like this. Individuals to, you know, kind of gain the courage, be educated so they can step out into who they are, because we depend on you to be in the spaces that we cannot be in. So I just wanted to kind of add on to that piece. And then just from a mental standpoint, you know, working with clients that are a part of this community as myself, we have a lot of, you know, we go through a lot of mental barriers, right? Whether from, you know, some of us, we may go through, like I said, mentioned like internalized homophobia conditioning from our own community, right? And we see a lot of that in the Black community. Then we may see that, you know, in addition to the Black community, we may feel societal pressures of that as well, right? And then even to that, we don't want to necessarily attribute to someone being part of the queer community. It all has to deal with their identity, and they may be struggling with that. But being able to kind of separate the two and say there are going to be individuals that we have to address, that may have, you know, barriers around their identity. But then also they may have barriers on other mental issues. And how do we get support around that? How do we get funding around that? How do we recognize that? So it does, especially when we talk about in the space of art, and someone is not being able to express their gift and their purpose and their calling to life. That's like basically robbing a person. That's robbing G and Xavier and Love and JASMYN of what you've come to this earth to do. And that can set people up for, you know, a multitude of, you know, depression and mental anxieties. So it does bear heavy on the mental side.
Yeah. And that is a testament to the great work that JASMYN has done, you know, since forever, you know, in terms of providing resources and providing safe space for LGBT, you know, teens and folks going into adulthood. And that was honestly why I wanted to start the closet, to be able to bridge that gap. Because once they, you know, they age, quote unquote, age out of JASMYN, then what? You know, how can we continue to nurture that now adult? How can we continue to build on the foundation that JASMYN has laid to be able to say now, okay, now let's help you flourish into the amazing human and butterfly that you were supposed to be. Right. And so here is an opportunity for you. Here is an opportunity for you to have your art displayed, or to perform, or to do any of those things. That's the Jacksonville that I see. You know? And the sad part about it is we have an amazing artistic community as a whole. We have an amazing artistic community. Jacksonville has one of the strongest communities. You can literally put, if you take the artists and the creatives here in Jacksonville, whether people know it or not, and you put Jacksonville against a Miami or an Atlanta or a California, where there's a lot of artistic focus, we have that talent here.
Yeah.
We have world-renowned talent here. So we have to do a better job as a community, as a whole, when it comes to Jacksonville and the First Coast. We have to do a better job of nurturing that so that they don't leave,
right?
You know, that they continue to pour back into the community, because that's where it starts, where that's how, you know, we can get into leadership roles and we can get into city council and all these different things. But what always ends up happening is that they leave, you know, our best leave because they feel like they don't have a home here and that they're not accepted here, you know. And I know I'm sure, Giella, you felt that urge to leave many times.
100%. My friends all in the United States are like, gee, why the heck are you still in Florida? But, you know, not only am I like, you know, an artist, a rapper, you know, I also am, you know, I label myself as an activist, you know. There's a lot of work to do in the South for Black and Brown youth. There's a lot of things that, you know, have to be done here. And I feel like it's my duty to do that in some ways, you know. Do I get tired? Yes. Do I get frustrated? Yes, you know. But it's worth it when, you know, I get to have discussions like this with my Black and Brown people. And, you know, when I have Duval folks parties, like, and I'm surrounded by Black and Brown youth, and, you know, when I'm getting trouble at Pride, you know, it's worth it.
It's all worth it. Good trouble. That's good trouble.
Good trouble, exactly.
Very good. It is very good trouble. Listen. Yeah. My mom is proud of me, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. My mama proud. That's all that matters. So, Xavier, I know you've only been in Jacksonville for a little over a year, but you've been in Florida, and I know for a fact, with you traveling and touring, that you've wanted to leave Florida. What makes you?
So I'm not even originally from Florida. Like, I moved to Florida when I was 10 years old to Tampa, and so like Florida and me have this very like love-hate, bittersweet relationship, because Florida is where I discovered my Blackness. Florida is where I discovered my art. Florida is literally what molded me to be like the man that I am today. However, did I like that process? No. I realized that living in Florida, especially in the South, everything is so categorized. Like, if you fit in this category, you're not supposed to be in that category. And it's always like, the category is never for you. It's always like to help other people understand you and let them feel safe or, you know, comfortable around you. And I have never been like that. Like, I don't like to assimilate into anything that is violent against queer Black people. Like this, you know, Florida is definitely one of those places where Blackness is celebrated, but it's also like Blackness is also weaponized, even in the Black community, where if you don't fit a certain mold in the Black community, your Blackness is not seen as valid. And it just confuses me because I think the issue that's going on in today's world is people focus so much on their differences that don't realize how much we intersect with each other and our identities. And that's the thing about Florida. And that was what kind of shocked me when I had to resign from that school, because what I was trying to tell the principal was, hey, like, you're missing the point. Like, it's not really about the sexuality. Of course, that's one aspect of the identity. But in order for youth to feel empowered, they need to realize that they share identities with people that they don't think that they share identities with. And that's the problem today. People don't see themselves in other people. We humans are walking portals. Like, the mirror is a walking portal. So when I can talk to another human and realize that they're not seeing it from my perspective, that means that people are so focused on the world that they create on their head and not realize that we all share this shit. Excuse me, we all share this. My bad.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I'm on the
Yeah, like I said, Florida is very bittersweet to me. I am very thankful for the lessons that I learned. It's been very grueling existing in this state. It's tiresome, but I think like anybody that goes to the South, they'll realize, anybody that goes anywhere in the South, that when you are, like I said, Black and queer, it's exhausting to exist in this region. People are constantly questioning your existence. People are constantly questioning your identities, and it's always for them, and they never realize that you too are a person. So that's been my experience here in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, and one more thing. So I knew Jacksonville, but Jacksonville was the first city that I have built queer community. Like in Tampa, I did not have queer community. Something that has stopped me from having queer community is one, whiteness, and two, the fetishization of like people of color in the queer community. So back then, a few years ago, I didn't want to associate myself with the queer community because I never felt truly a part of it. Like I never really felt like one with it. I always felt like an add-on, or like, you know what I'm saying, like glorified in the wrong ways. Not realizing that my ancestors are literally the trailblazers to what queerness is. And so like I had to identify for myself like what that looks like and building that for me, because as a whole, like as a collective, it doesn't represent me. And that's still something that I'm trying to like feel comfort in. And like that's why like through the queer community that I've made here in Jacksonville, me being a part of that, like it's affirming me and my queerness and my Blackness. Like what does that look like for me, and not what people tell me what that looks like.
Yes. Yeah. Ashe,
right.
Dang.
I'll tell you, one of the things that frustrates me about Jacksonville is how it seems like Jacksonville has always been kind of like the little engine that could to me. we truck along and we're like, okay, I think we're there, you know, and then somebody calls a cop on a 12-year-old in Springfield because he's riding his skateboard and he's a little Black boy. There's literally signs talking that have Black Lives Matter and all these different things. And then you might have racist neighbors. The thing that really frustrates me even further is how we have racism that exists within the LGBT community.
Say it again.
It
boggles my mind that racism exists in the LGBT community here in Jacksonville. That is absolutely crazy to me.
Does it really boggle your mind?
You know what? Actually, it doesn't. To be completely honest, it doesn't.
I gotta ask you as a panelist does it really bother you?
You're right. It doesn't. And that's sad. That's sad that it doesn't bother me, because it's just one of those things where you say, well, that's Jacksonville.
But it's not Jacksonville, though. That's LGBT community. They like LGBT community. They feel like because love is love, like racism cannot exist within LGBT spaces.
But there's bias within the queer community.
Say again?
There's bias within the queer community that, you know.
There's bias. There's anti-transness. There is non-binariness, like, you know, transphobia, homophobia, all the isms live within.
Biphobia, you know, that
every phobia.
People are just not committed. You know?
Every ism exists within the LGBT community as well, you know.
The thing about it, one thing I want to I just wanted to welcome everybody that's watching. You know, feel free to leave your comments and drop them in the comments, and we'll make sure that we get to your comments. But I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that this isn't just this is part one of the conversation. So we're going to be wrapping up here pretty shortly, but we will continue with part two. With some more amazing panelists on Friday. And then on Sunday, we're going to culminate this entire series with some performances from some LGBTQ Jacksonville folks that you need to know, that you should know who are right here in our backyard. The one thing I also want to make sure that we understand is that this is going to be an ongoing thing, because we are literally at a point where we are at life or death. That's how I'm looking at it. We have to make a change. We can no longer be complacent. We can no longer be complicit. We have to stop talking, stop simply talking, but also put action behind what we're doing. And so this, as we start to wrap up, Kay, I'm going to direct this to you. We're going to, so as far as the closet and Jasmyn, we're going to continue the partnership, and we're going to do some things in terms of education, especially when it comes to voting and knowing who our leaders are and knowing what they do, because I think that that's extremely important, because we need to understand those things, right? But as we begin to move forward and take the steps forward, Kay, what are some things that from a mental health perspective do you see that we should do from both sides, from the people of color? How do we need to take care of ourselves in this moment, because we're tired, we're frustrated, we're angry, and then I know you can't speak as a non-person of color, but what are some things, in terms of mental health that white folks need to do?
Yeah. No, that's definitely a great question. So I'll kind of give maybe the structure part about it, and then the what I believe could be the root. I think, like, definitely going again to having conversations like this. We don't know how this impacts people sitting watching, and sharing this content, and now knowing that, hey, JASMYN, organizations like JASMYN, I have a resource to go to, because that's sometimes a lot of the hurdle, or overcoming the hurdle, right? Is that I'm facing this societal, internal, and I don't have anywhere to go, and I have to keep that bottled in. And that's where we get into the multitude of mental conditions, because we're keeping that in. But if we have somewhere to go, we have a resource, we have a place like JASMYN, we have a friend that we can talk to and be a sounding board for us. We have supportive family, we have supportive community, whether that's, like affirming churches or just affirming support systems. That equips a person and empowers a person to say, okay, you know what? Now I can see myself in the world. Now I can take the step and move forward. When we have core organizations, like ERGs, employee resource groups, that say, hey, you're welcome here. Let's be a part of what the community is doing. Let's be part of what Jax Pride is doing. So it all comes down to the resources, but then also, like you said, the education, right? We're all evolving, and this is helpful for people that are part of the queer community that are needing to be re-educated as we continue to evolve as a community, right? So the education is important. The more you know, is like we say, the old adage, since you know it now, you're going to do better, right? So we need the education, we need the resource. And some people may call me a softie on this one, but I think it's also just kind of living into what this community stands for, right? The queer community, love all. We all want to love all, right? And then we just said a couple moments ago that we have phobias and biases and internal fears that's going on in our community, right? So if we get to the point of kind of living that out and be able to live past our labels, and as Laverne, you said earlier, yeah, I'm a lesbian, but that's not all of who I am. That's a fabric piece of, in the entirety of who we are. Right. But if we get to really get into a space of living out love and finding what that looks like for us, maybe going to resource education and doing things out of love, that can help. And then also too, getting connected with your corporate organizations. You have employee assistance programs, seeking the help that you need from therapy, right? Because once again, LGBTQ community can be dealing with barriers within their identity, but also other mental conditions. So please always seek help. Do not be shamed. Do not feel guilty. You don't have to have the answers. You need to speak to someone that's going to help you navigate that next phase for you. So definitely therapy and some formalized counseling, and also as far as in life coaching to kind of help you move forward. So those would be the things that I would say. If we could all take action steps towards that, we'll be in a better space.
Sure.
Agreed. And I think we all need it, black and white. Or everybody under the rainbow. We all need that. We all definitely need that. Liz, did you want to I wanted to add a question or answer a question. So Natalie, we're having part 2 on Friday, same bat time, same bat place. You'll be able to find it on JASMYN's Facebook page and on the Closet Jax Facebook page as well. So feel free to share it and share it with some folks and let people know that we're going to have part 2 of this conversation. And Liz, did you want to add something?
I would just like to send my love and my thanks to all of you for being part of this. It was extraordinary to listen to all of you. And I can only imagine that everyone else that was part of it felt inspired. We have so much work to do. And it's, as Kay said, it's conversations like this that are going to begin to open people's minds and open avenues to those resources, so that someone like Xavier doesn't walk into a room and feel the chill, that people begin to just be, what did you say? We are mirrors of one another, or we could be mirrors of one another. And we just need to educate and open minds. So I'm grateful to all of you for being part of this, and I look forward to the Friday night session.
Yeah, awesome. And I'll just add, somebody had something to add? Oh, okay. So I'll just add that, one thing I will ask is that we need more spaces. We need more opportunities, So if you're listening, if you're watching this, and you have the ability to create an opportunity, it literally should be it is your responsibility to open the door for LGBT folks who are looking for a place or looking for a venue, because none of us are going to get out of here alive. Number one, none of us, again, are experts at any of these things, the things that we encounter and face in life. So we need each other. We need each other. And the only way that we are going to conquer this and conquer everything that's happening right now is if we come together. That's the only way. We're not going to, we've been doing it separately for so long with little pockets of unity. We've had pockets of unity, but we truly need to come together, and we need to figure this out together, right? So please please visit JASMYN's page so that you can sign up for session 2. If anybody is interested in being a panelist, please email me at iamlovereigns@gmail.com. That's IAMLOVEREIGNS @gmail.com, or reach out to Liz or JASMYN, and they'll get in contact with me. And if you are interested in performing and submitting a performance for Sunday, it's all about LGBT performers and who are here in Jacksonville. We want to highlight you. We want to make sure that people know who you are. We want to make sure that people know how to support you. If you need help, we want to be able to point you in the right direction of that help. So please don't be shy. Send me a message privately if you have any questions. If I don't know the answer, I'll pass it to Liz, because Liz knows it all.
Yeah.
Or I know where to find it.
Oh man. All right. So thank you all so much. Thank you, panelists. You all were very, very beautiful. Thank you for your taking time to share your experiences. And let's get to work, man. We got a lot of work to do, and we can do it.
That's it.
All right. So cool.